Welcome
Yeah.
to this again. We're back.
This again.
I'm not even sure. I mean, it did perfectly fine, right? I mean, it did no better or worse than anything else.
I would say
probably was begging for it to come back.
I would say it did as good as it should have done.
Yeah. And we thoroughly enjoyed it, so we're back.
Yeah, because we're really boring people, I guess. Is that what this means? Is that what it means if we really enjoyed this?
It definitely paints us in a bit of a weird picture. That this is how we want to be spending our Saturday afternoon. But here we are.
Well, we spend our Saturday evenings at the function.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Might talk about that at some point.
Why would we?
Or maybe on like a stream. I don't know.
Probably.
But for now,
we'll review
this.
We'll give a review of like I don't know of the venue.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't say.
They said it was 3-star, so that's our expectation.
No, okay, no. You don't know what a 3-star hotel is, do you? That's not a rating.
The reviews were 4 stars, 4.5 stars, but then it was a 3-star rated hotel.
Yeah, it's not a rating of like quality. It's just like the level of hotel it is. 1 star. 1 star doesn't mean like dilapidated at all. You know, you get like chain hotels that like very simple, like formulaic, but also very clean, like accommodation. But that's like 1 star still, or it's one star hotel.
So
it's like extremely cheap, small size and sort of like amount of like facilities and sort of things like that.
Right.
You know.
Well, either way, I don't think we're going to be in the rooms.
Like a 1 star is like a place where you stop off, you know, for one night on the road. Like, it can be quite high, like quality still.
All right. Speaking of 1 to 5 things,
what the fuck?
We'll do a brief review, just in case this is your first video you watched of this.
Okay, I should go back to the ratings.
Yeah.
Which worked out, I guess.
Yeah, I think they I've yet to find an issue with it.
Well, I think the reason it worked out because they're actually, I don't think it's 100%, but it is because we're not creating a different rating system for both mod and overclocks, but they do apply slightly differently. But in that sense, it works as best it can for both, which is why we think this works. Do you need reminding? Because you can't see.
No, I remember.
Well, go on.
Basically,
list them off then.
I'll do them in this order. 1 and 5 are bad. If something gets given this, it's a bad thing for the game. 1 implies that it's so weak of a mod or overclock that it will never get picked and needs buffing and or removing. 5 means it's too strong and it will always get picked, overpowers the other option, and is bad for the gun because it relies on it too much. 4 and 3 are like slightly healthier mixtures. 3 being underpowered but still viable with certain builds. Like it's not too bad. It's just not quite up to par with its other ones. Wait, what one did I just say?
I wouldn't say that's
2.
True. That's definitely 2. That's definitely 2.
I meent 2. I didn't mean to say 3 because 4, as you can play, that's slightly strong but not overpoweringly so. Just a good pick. Often I think ammo ends up getting 4s so far. Not sure
well, I should point out this is a way of us sort of collect like. It's difficult because we have to be as objective as possible, which is very difficult for me and for 2 people, I guess. But it will allow us, at least in relation to ourselves. I said actually last week that it's not actually going to be that objective for everyone, but it's more so actually going to reveal like what we actually think, like almost subconsciously, right? I think.
It's to help us like really consolidate why our opinions on these weapons are what they are. And you can do this as well at home. You don't inherently have to agree with us, but if you want to keep track of these things yourself.
Why's my hand shaking like that?
Yeah. And just because this is annoying me, 3 equals literally balanced. Like it's not too strong, not too weak, is an amazing, perfect, fine, good, healthy so and so.
But what I was going to say is that obviously 1 and 5 are inherently problematic, but it's also the way we do it. We construct a table of data which represents like the weapons, mods, and overclocks, and from that we can like identify trends. For example, something like every like ammo overclock or mod getting a 4 would be, even though 4 isn't inherently problematic, that could be a problem if we see this overbearing trend.
And that's not even like, and that is the thing, because I thought that was always the case, but that wasn't. For example, with last episode with the primaries, I don't think the ammos for like the stubby and the thing were inherently 4s, but for the the Loki only actually had 1, doesn't it? I don't know, it was weird. But it was interesting because we finally get it down into numbers and we can look at it. Obviously, I've forgotten those numbers because I've looked at them in a week, but when we want to sit down and talk about it like properly after or something, we will.
I guess technically we should be doing this in Excel, but listen, man, PowerPoint is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't skip the PGL. I just skipped straight to the table, which I shouldn't do yet because the table will get filled in without you seeing it. You little schmucks.
But there is the table. You'll see it once we've done them all. But yeah. For this, we use Carl.
Also a splendorous tool.
Yeah, because it is, first of all, a very nice way of showing it. The only alternative would really have been pulling up the game, right? Which would be a bit more a task on your laptop.
Well, no, this is so obviously the best way of doing this because of what we're focusing on. It's basically what Carl is. It's really all it's got to show. It's just the weapons and everything that can be given to all the mods and overclocks, and it gives more detail in every regard as well than the game does. It's the perfect tool for this. There'd be no reason to use the game.
So yeah, basically that was a quicker rundown. If you want a more in-depth one, probably the first episode, which will be engineer primaries. But for now, I think we can start moving on to the actual.
If you want a more detailed one, we could do a whole podcast explaining
it. Well, I feel like we might do something like that after, maybe.
There'll be some kind of epilogue. I'm actually not quite sure what shape that's going to take.
It could take the form of a podcast, since it will literally be our consolidated opinions on all of the weapons in the game, and it'll be like our thoughts on what's the most healthy weapon, what's the least healthiest weapon, and why we think that in a less tier list kind of format would be a pretty nice way of going at it. But for now,
speaking of not very healthy, almost it's a bit fat, isn't it? You look at this already. I think this is the most freeze, as in the most tiers with 3 options on any weapon. Actually,
yeah,
because
there was one that has all of them.
No, I want that to happen though. I want everything to have that.
I don't see why they don't. I guess it'd just be a bit difficult.
Well, no, there's a specific reason for this, and it's that which was added later on. But either way, this is the PGL, and this is a case where a special case, actually already, where we need to start not at tier 1. We need to do tier 3 first in this case, because it will help with everything else. It will provide the lens through which everything else should be seen because of tier 3A, which is incendiary compound,
which is the most obvious 5 in this entire thing, I expect.
It is possibly. It's not 100% though. It will be a 5, but it's not 100% only because of Fat Boy, where it's not like essential Fat Boy. That's it. But every other build is objectively the better pick. So we have a 5.
It makes most of them usable, and then it just kind of helps out hyperpropellant.
But the fact that even hyperpropellant is benefited, like there's no reason not to take this.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately you have pressure wave, which I think we have to give pressure wave a 1 because it's broken.
'Cause it's broken, right?
And it's also in the same tier as this.
Yeah.
High velocity grenades.
Probably I mean, it's used. That's what is used on Fat Boy, right?
Ideally,
So
it would
it's
be
got that at the very
ideally
least.
it would be a 3. But it's
I
not
mean,
like
it ain't bad.
it's definitely not bad.
I think it is a healthy one. Obviously, in a very unhealthy tier. It would be if it had reasonable competitors, it would be a reasonable mod. But it doesn't, so it isn't.
Well,
But I think it is a
unfortunately,
3.
yeah. I mean, it's not. It's
Say
because of
it was
incendiary
going up
compound, though,
against,
isn't it?
yeah, but say it was going up against default area damage and like damage, let's say, or something like that, or like default ammo. Would you still think it would compete?
No, but it might compete if it's in tier 5. If it was that, if that wasn't, if that was changed to be that, because this is actually useless.
All right, you're getting ahead.
I am getting ahead.
You thinking maybe 2 then?
Personally, yeah.
All right.
I feel like it's got to be. I feel like it's got to be. I can't really.
So then Harry puts it in the chart, which you won't see, but yeah.
Well,
essentially,
no, hold on. You'll see it afterwards.
Yeah, later, but not right now.
Not right now.
But yeah, the fire compound, whatever, that is just too much of a must pick to not be a 5. Even though obviously you can justify not picking it with Fat Boy, it's still the only viable way of using. Viable is a weird way. The best way of using the grenade launcher with every other overclock in the game. So not on the PGL. Yeah.
Hipster. Is it with hipster often?
Yeah. But yeah, do you want to go back to tier 1 now?
Yes, let's go to tier 1. So tier 1, pretty easy. We got fragmentary shell plus 1 meter AoE radius, solid 3, right there. If I've ever seen one. Same with the ammo in this case. And this is why we did tier 3 first, because we have HE compound, which plus 20 area damage, which you would think would be good. Actually, it's not, because even without incendiary compound, it's not changing many breakpoints or even any on its own. And incendiary compound removes the use for it entirely, because incendiary compound, no matter how low your area damage is, will always set on fire anything weaker than a guard.
Yeah. So
you have to push it really far to get it to set guards on fire in one shot.
All right. So what are you thinking then? Like
3
or 1?
3 and 2.
Yeah, because I feel like it's not that bad. It may need a little buff to compete against those ones, but it obviously is screwed over by incendiary compound.
Well, the problem is it's kind of like even useless when you go for that, really, isn't it? Because if you go for AoE damage, but you're not using Fat Boy, it's just not an optimal way. Like, say you went for clean sweep and went all AoE. That's just not a very good build.
I would still pick the area one. In that case, though, it's like if I'm going area, I prefer having a bigger one.
But but for example, though, it's like detrimental with like Fat Boy, for example, and hyper propellant.
Yeah.
And in this tier, you would never use the RJ250. You would go for ammo or radius. So yeah, this one's a bit shit.
Do you think it's a 1 shit? Like, I mean, think about it. Is there any reason ever to pick that mod?
Yes.
When and why?
Okay, maybe not this one. Not in tier 1.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So maybe it is a 1.
Yeah, I think it must be. It has to be at that point. Like, if no matter what, there isn't a good enough reason to pick it, it doesn't belong there.
Can you pick it? No. Can you?
Yeah.
Not. It's a ever so slightly different story with tier 2, which is a very very interestingly boring tier, where it's actually just the same. It's just these 2 upgrades, but without a third option.
Yeah.
But it's slightly different.
I wish they added a third option, and it was literally the same tier again. Because
oh my god, that would be brilliant!
2 areas on that bad boy.
That'd be fantastic. Well, no, obviously there is another one, but it's still
yeah, or 3 there, yeah.
But this does shake up sort of how it's not going to be the same rating for these 2. I don't think. In fact, I think this time larger payload is at least coming up to a 2. Although, on average, it's not going to equal more ammo, And Fat Boy and Hyperpellant are doing a lot of work there in making ammo the easier pick, but it's still more often than not the better pick. So in this case, even though area damage does get a little bit of a leg up, I think ammo does as well.
Yeah, and yeah. So you're thinking 4-2, right?
Yeah, 4 and 2 is what I'm thinking.
And I think even now that is still experiencing the consequences of it incendiary compound. Just the fact that picking the damage isn't an idea at all is due to the incendiary compound, and probably why it has never received a buff is due to incendiary compound. Right?
Yeah.
Because people don't care because they just use incendiary compound. So why should they buff them if no one really notices or cares? And yeah. So
that's tier 2, which means we can go to tier 4 because we've already done tier 3.
Right.
Whoa! Tier 4, we've got our boy Homebrew Explosive. Since when was it not called Powder? Since when was it? What the fuck?
I mean, the Overclock ones, I'm not sure if that is. It's probably not anything, right? Like, it's probably just a 3, right?
Yeah, I think so. Nails and Tape is also definitely a 3.
I like Nails and Tape.
Pretty much always a good pick, except Hyperpropellant. This is... I'm only really use this for Hyperpropellant, but I think it's good anyway. Just in general. Although, I think Nails and Tape would be more tempting for me, but if I'm being honest, they're probably quite equal. As in... I wish it was actually a randomized radius one, though. I wish it was just those two. Like, this is damage and this was radius, but they were both Homebrew Powder. That would be more interesting. Instead of this just being a copy of that.
The issue is, though, Harry, is it's a Gen 1 gun, so it's not ever going to be that interesting.
No.
And then Stun, which... What... I would... I think it's still a 3, right?
I feel I might agree, only because I think tier 4 is probably the healthiest tier here.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to do that, even though I don't ever use it.
It's good with Stunner as your primary, because you'll get that damage boost to stunned enemies. Plus, while they're on fire, which you're likely using, they're just sitting there burning, not moving. And then they'll come for you, but at that point...
It would help there, but getting more enemies on fire is always going to be more tempting.
Yeah.
Personally, it's actually... I think personally it is a 2 in this tier, but...
I think that's fair.
Oh, you think that's fair? I mean, it's still not disastrous. That's still probably the healthiest
Comes down
tier.
To personal preference and how much you value stun.
Yeah.
But yeah. 3-3-2.
Okay, that's cool. Oh, good. 3, 3. Dwa. Dois. Dos. 3, 4, 5. Tier 5. Proximity trigger.
Fun Fat Boy mod.
It's annoying as fuck, though. Proximity trigger is so fucking annoying because it means that your grenades are never going to explode at the actual center of mass of a horde. They will always explode at the first thing they get close to. That's the problem.
It actually reduces the killing potential of the weapon. Which isn't exactly preferable.
It's only made like fine by incendiary compound because incendiary compound doesn't suffer from damage fall off, but because the normal explosions have that, and this means this is always going to be like above enemies, like below or in or like impacting on the enemies is always going to be better than the explosion being not like above the ground. That's not ideal.
It is actually a downgrade, right?
Honestly, in most cases, it kind of is. The only time it feels really nice is actually when you're using it against Mactera with incendiary compound. It seems to work quite well because it's not instantaneous, which means it does tend to actually... Because Macteras, Macteras don't tend to form like lines. They're not like a big like row of enemies coming towards you. It's more like a wall. Yeah. They form like a wall, which means it will always be like positioned pretty well. But apart from that, it's really not ideal. I think
if it wasn't for that, it would have been a 1, but maybe it's a
it's definitely. I think it's definitely a 2. I think it's actually a very good idea. First of all, but then it kind of ends there because I'm not sure how you would execute it well, and I don't think it's Spiky Grenade's fault either necessarily. But yeah, that's definitely a
that
2. But Spiky
that
Grenade is easily a 4 because Spiky Grenade is just the ideal. It just feels better to use all the time, you know. It means it will explode on contact with terrain, which is usually what you want. It also, yeah, I don't really. There's no scenario where it isn't better. It doesn't make the explosions better, you know, but it's still better. And because it adds a little bit of direct damage, it means suddenly it makes sense to sort of pick a larger target as sort of like the thing to shoot, but you'll still get everything else. For example, I think even with RJ250, because of the damage added, you can set a guard on fire if you hit it directly. So it's got that going for it, and obviously it adds on to hyper propellant. Just a solid pick. It's also just very good in all scenarios, really. So
yeah.
Pretty simple, pretty easy 4. Not, I can't say the same for disabled inertia inhibitor, which is okay. Disabled inertia inhibitor is not a great pick really at all, especially because of what it's competing with, even proximity trigger. It's only for saving yourself with RG250. That's all it's for.
Which is a very weird reason to add something like
It's
that.
only because it's only because they added it.
Should have just done that.
Yeah, but then RG250 would have too many effects. It was added because they added it to the platform gun, as well, and they thought, oh, this kind of makes sense. Let's slap this on. Which actually, I don't mind them doing things like that. It's the reason why the PGL is an anomaly in having 4 tiers with 3 options. And it is because of just some random little thing that just cropped up, but they thought, oh, we can do that, I guess. And it's fine. It's inoffensive, but it's not a great pick, especially because that should just be there instead, I think. Because that would do the same thing. It's only because you can't take it because of incendiary compound. But you'd still be able to shoot the floor before you hit it to save yourself.
So we're looking at like at most 2, right?
At most, as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's almost 2 with the caveat of like, it is kind of useless. But it doesn't offend me either in any way. It is realistically a neutral / positive pick. I don't know. Maybe it's just
something that would just be a positive.
I would rather be something good though, you know.
Yeah, obviously.
But I don't want to. I don't want to use the bias of like wanting to highlight a problem I have to just give it a 1 when it might not necessarily deserve a 1.
I think that doesn't deserve a 1. I think the proximity might. If either of the 2 deserve it, the proximity actually.
The only thing it has, proximity trigger does actually add a little bit of radius to account for its problems. So no, I think we're going to go 2-4-2.
Yeah.
So that's
which essentially makes the spiky one a must pick.
In this situation, that is when you have 2, 4, and 2, you know, there's no 3s there. Yeah. That highlights the issue of one being a bit.
It's only.
But in this case, when it's a 4, that means it's really the other 2 that need the attention.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's the spiky one would be a fine tier 5 level, but then the other 2 just plummet below that.
Plummet. I love that word. Anyway, so that's all the mods. Done in okay time actually. Overclocks. Let's get it because I'm thinking. I actually don't know. I don't know what we're going to do here. This is going to be interesting. Let's start at the beginning though. I think let's not overcomplicate this.
Right?
That's clean sweep.
Clean sweep, right?
Plus 10 area damage, plus 0.5 area radius. I'm not going to fight that. 3 for sure. Yeah.
If you want AoE and you don't want to be a fat boy, it's your best.
You don't want to be a fat boy.
Pack rat inherently good.
Pack rat might be a 3 as well, only because it's a clean. But we have to. I think we have to compare all the ammo ones together.
Yeah.
So we got pack rat. We got compact rounds, which is plus 5 max ammo, minus 10 area. This one's a 2, by the way. Maybe even 1.
A 2. Harry, could you ever pick that?
Well,
There is no reason to pick it, right?
there is no reason to. There is no reason to. You're not.
And you would actually
You are hurting yourself by taking it. Actually, you are.
Yeah.
Because it reduces your AoE damage, which means you're already losing certain breakpoints. It makes it even harder to kill grunts. Like, I think it still kills them at the center of the blast, but even then, I'm not even sure if it does, which means you objectively have to use Incendiary Compound with it. But then RG250 still does the same job, but it gives you more ammo. So,
Yeah.
are you okay? Does that mean
it's a 1?
That's a 1. That's a 1. Pack Rat. Pack Rat.
What are the negatives of RJ250 compound?
It's just a lot. You just lose damage, but it's not enough that it changes like the breakpoints of Incendiary Compound, and it just gives you a shit ton of ammo and means you can rocket jump. So, but there is somewhat of an equality amongst the community of what's picked out of these three, which means I don't think RJ250 is a 5.
Yeah. The issue with RJ250 though is that I don't know. It's not healthy.
Shit,
right?
what did I just do?
What did you just do? It is not a healthy addition to the game. Obviously, the whole jumping around is fun, but then it being not only that, but then it being the actual best overwhelming ammo choice, and also your damage and killing potential is just as good as before, right? That you are just as good at killing things while having significantly more ammo and having it be a mobility tool.
Mm-hmm.
That is bad. And I don't mean in the bad way, I mean in the 5 way.
I think I agree.
It's RJ250 combined with the fucking mod, that fire mod. Those two are both 5s, and that make the grenade launcher the not good weapon that it is. In the RJ250, honestly, just I don't know what
RJ250 should be a clean that just adds the rocket jump effect. Frankly,
I think it needs
and the ammo thing and the ammo part should be kept intact, and that's what compact rounds should be. And then RJ250 should be a clean, but compact rounds should give as much ammo as this, and should also not reduce your radius. That's how it should be. But then, okay, so Pack Rat is I don't know what Pack Rat is in this case. Is it a 2? Because
it's 2. It's not.
You're never really a 3.
Pick it, but it's not actually a downgrade, is it?
No.
Unlike the other one.
But these, so that's 3, 2, 1, 5 for that bunch. So I'm gonna put those numbers in. Pack Rat 2, Combat Rounds 1, RJ250 5. Now, the boys. I want to point out, or at least just jump right in and say they're equal, right? Do you think?
Yeah.
But
they're
what
both
are
very
they?
strong at what they do.
Are they 3s or are they 4s?
Right. I think that they are actually very balanced in what they are.
In my opinion, they're more balanced compared with in relation to each other. Yeah, I think Fat Boy personally is not a good choice. Overall.
See, that's the thing. Most people would be looking at it like a 4 or a 5, but you're looking at like a 2, right? You think Fat Boy is bad, and I think you are wrong.
You can do most of the size of the groups that you need to take down. You can do most of the work with one RJ250 shot. You really can.
The issue is here, Harry, is that I think you need to step back and realize that you are the only person that holds this opinion. And if we want to be objective here, Fat Boy...
I was thinking about this. Yeah.
Fat Boy is a immense damage dealing area status effect thing at the cost of all your ammo, right? And it is a very good example of an unstable overclock. And whether or not you value that is, for now, in this scenario, irrelevant.
But the community is way too obsessed with it, though.
Oh, yeah.
They're so fucking obsessed with it. So everyone who hears about it, it's all they want. And it's just like, no, don't have it be the only thing that you need. That's not healthy.
Yeah.
But that's why, though, putting all that into consideration is why I think it's like you said, balanced.
I think both of them are 3. I think
I actually agree on the hyper pellet thing. I used to not. I do now, even though I think the shard diffractor, unfortunately, is a lot better for this purpose.
Yeah.
Like a lot. By the way, I think it's a lot better, and I think people need to. I don't. It scares me that people don't get it, but
yeah, but I think
maybe I don't get it.
That is a separation we need to have between the weapons, right? We
Yes.
just need to look at it inside itself. Hyperpropellant, it is a very good example. Stable overclock in that it very much changes how the weapon feels, and its penalties are felt while its positives are also felt. Right? You know that it's dealing that direct damage, and you can feel the price that you paid for.
Hyperpellant, I absolutely get it, especially if you aren't playing solo, especially. I can make it work. I can, and I respect it in a pretty much any co-op scenario. Unless you're working with a scout, I feel like if you're 2 players, you can take hyperpellant if your teammate is a gunner or a driller or an engineer, and in that case, it's fine. So 3 and 3.
Yeah, I think that they are
like,
very
I think they probably are better for most people than clean sweep, but
yeah,
on principle, I respect clean sweep in just being a balanced, just extension of the default weapon. And these are sort of like ridiculous. Yeah, I mean that's kind of gay, but so 3 and 3. Because I don't think they really need to change.
They have obviously a lot of strength, but their strength is healthy. It's a healthy amount.
They
are
really
very high negatives.
They do nail down the point, like, sort of the idea of unstable overclocks. Because I think there's a lot of unstable overclocks that should actually be balanced overclocks in terms of what they do.
Some of them they did not go far enough.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the grenade launcher.
Yeah,
we got it.
It clearly has some issues.
Look at this, guys.
Yeah. It's well documented as well. A lot of people know the Deepcore's kind of strengths and problems with its ammo overclocks and its tier 3 issues. So yeah, it's a very flawed weapon, and hopefully this can kind of demonstrate why we think so. Because I don't think you can argue with what we've said, right?
That's one of the things I'm really happy about. Actually, it's like I absolutely get why people like the grenade launcher. Can't argue with that.
Yeah,
that's why we've done this, though. This is relatively unbiased. I think I feel like most people can look at this and be like, I get it, because we've treated the things that people love the right way. I don't think people love Incendiary Compound. They just understand they have to take it. But people love Fat Boy and Hyperpellant, and we've said that they're balanced, which they should be happy with. Which they should.
and it's the same with like the other things, in that like people may like the armor breaking mod, right? People might use that, but they need to come to terms with the fact that
everyone's seen the Lazy Mig video. They know the dogma is out there. The code, the PGL code. You don't take armor breaking. We know, everyone understands this now.
Yeah, and we pointed out these obvious things in this format, and you can now visually see why we think this gun is not that good, not that healthy, not that balanced, that kind of thing.
I suppose what we should be doing is giving them like a health rating, but I don't know.
We're gonna do that at like the end or something.
At the end of what?
Like just at the end, I think. And it's just because then we'll have like a numerical like number. So it will be out of 5. We just get it all together and then divide it by however many, and then we'd get like weapons that have like 2.5 out of 5 like healthiness, and then it'll be some like 4.5 or something. And then what it is, we'll give that a try once we've got like a big enough data point. But for now, the Breech Cutter, right?
Whoa!
Yeah.
The BR Breech Cutter, our boy. The guy,
still
the Don,
still sits on the throne in my head, like that it used to be, and it was dethroned from quite a while ago. But it used to be literally just broken. It's just everything. It didn't matter what you did with it; it would kill everything so easily. It was a must pick,
and it is now. It is now a good weapon.
Yeah,
a very good weapon, by the way. A tier all the way. It's stuck in A tier though.
Yeah,
But, you know,
well, we'll see why. What's limiting it? What's pushing it up? Hopefully, by the end of
honestly,
this.
but hold on, both of these guys look. I mean, especially that with that gap. They look very naked compared to the PGL, don't they?
Yeah,
But they're not, especially when this fucker's hogging all the overclocks. Especially
yeah. It's
tier
kind of
one,
wild.
tier one, possibly one of the most balanced tiers I've ever seen. Plus 1.5 projectile lifetime and plus 3 magazine size.
Yeah,
Very,
which is
very
pretty interesting.
balanced. Now this is great because this just gives you
Magazine
more.
size, 3 more ammo, right?
That's 3 more ammo as well. Yeah.
3 more ammo and a lot more convenience. Because without that, it's still 3, right? So it just doubles it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one is obviously more lifetime, which implies more damage per shot, right?
More total
and with a
damage
longer
because more
range.
potential enemies hit and more like possibility to hit enemies at a longer range.
Yeah, basically both of them help your overall damage and your convenience of the gun at the same time, right? Both of them have more damage being done and more fluidity in how you use it. And it's pretty interesting. So I do agree with you. They're both exceptional ones. They're both threes.
I like to view it as like this adds more. This adds more of the gun, and like this adds more of what that makes what the gun does better, and those two things kind of equal out in my head. That's a very solid 3 and 3, I think.
Yeah.
Simple. Nothing insane, but also good picks that are equal. Tier 2! Tier 2, however. Right, okay. Ammo. Plus 6 max ammo. Plus 175 beam DPS. Plus 1.5 meter plasma beam width.
The width thing. Is that bad?
I feel like the width one is better than the damage one.
Yeah.
It's pretty significant. I've seen it. Like, you use it, don't you? The width, right?
I barely use Breech cutter.
I've seen you use it. It's noticeably, it's pretty ridiculous actually how big it gets. But ammo is really, really hard not to take here.
Especially since obviously it's the only time you get the choice, other than obviously the overclock. Like you kind of, if you want it to have ammo,
but to be fair, in the context of the breach cutter, this is ammo.
Yeah,
it's also half of what this ammo mod adds.
It's yeah, which is actually fair enough. That really is something.
But I think about it in the context of any of the popular breach cutter builds, the other two don't come out on top ever.
Yeah,
the problem.
So what are you thinking? Like 4-2-2? Or 4-2-3?
4-2. Probably 2 as well.
All right.
I'm just not sure. See, I feel a little bit like unexperienced, even though I'm definitely not. But I've never thought like I'm better off taking either of these. It's never seemed like the right choice, and I don't think it is for anyone. Even if you're doubling down, even if you're taking something like lightweight cases, I don't think people take either of these. I mean, sometimes people take that. I don't know. We might be wrong about this, which is why I might be on board with you saying that's a 3.
I think if you think do you think that the bit is above the damage
in this
right?
case?
You
Yeah,
do think that?
Yeah, for the way the breach cutter works with damage, especially.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're sitting at a 4-2-3.
I can accept that. Because I'd see people use whip quite often, and I wouldn't know if people are using this, as in I don't notice the damage increase. You know.
Yeah. Which is impressive considering how much it adds, but it's also
it's
what
not,
it already isn't that much.
Yeah, I mean? People don't quite get how the breach cutter works.
Like if that mod was on like literally any other gun, be the strongest shit known to man, but because it's on the breach cutter, it's actually kind of weak.
The breach cutter's numbers are fun to look at, aren't they? 575 DPS. What? But then you realise the projectile does move quicker than that. You know, it doesn't spend a second inside a grunt. It doesn't need to. But yeah, that's tier 2, which is that's fine. That's fair, I think. Because this ammo overclock is overclock? Whatever. Okay, tier 3. Tier 3. Quick deploy. Reload speed.
I never got quick deploy because I don't know why that delayed bit is even a feature. Like it feels like they just added it, so then they had to like take it away with a mod. if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah,
Like, I don't get it.
uh-huh. But I think everyone uses it.
Yeah,
I don't have a build that doesn't use it because this is a very boring tier, and it's just like, okay, I'm just going to get rid of the delay. That's all people use this tier for, right? Chances are you're using Born Ready, which I know that, no, that should be factored in, actually, I think. And it's like, you have, like, with the Breach Cutter, even 3 shots is probably going to be enough to deal with a threat well enough, where you don't need to worry about it, right? The
yeah.
reload
You will
time
have a
is not
second,
in the reload
right?
time is not endangering you that much in the context of the Breach Cutter. And even then, you might be increasing its magazine size, or you might be increasing the reload time with an overclock, or you just switch to another weapon, your primary weapon, until you're safe or waiting for Born Ready to kick in. It's but it does have a long reload time, and 0.6 seconds is not nothing.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think what we're thinking, like 4 and 2,
I
or do you
feel
think it's
like
maybe a 5 and 2?
it might be a 5 and 2. It might be a 5. See, once again, I feel a little bit stupid because I don't actually know how popular Quick Deploy is. It's hard to like notice it when you're looking at other players. The Breach Cutter,
Yeah.
but which is why 5 might be too extreme. I don't know if this is one of those cases. I don't know if this is a case. You know, I don't.
I think 4 and 2. It's just there's obviously a tendency towards that. Um, it's a safe, relatively calm way of putting it.
The
Because
calm before the storm.
5 feels really like volatile.
Yeah, it's not
Like
that
it's
kind of thing, really, at
yeah,
all. Yeah.
like it's no real harm done if you pick the other either, right? It's just not preferable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Tier 4, armor breaking and stun. Very boring. But
both
good.
hold equal weight though, really, don't they?
Yes,
Like
yes, yes, they
if they
do.
either was competing with like actual killing ability, then they'd probably lose. But since they're competing with each other, then it kind of equals
The only
out,
reason why I
right?
somewhat debate it is because, as far as I know, in the context of most other weapons, armor breaking does increase your damage, right? But the breach cutter's just going through it anyway. The armor
Yeah,
breaking
the
mod
breach
is
cutter
only
doesn't
to
feel
is
any.
only to strip armor. It's not
Yeah,
increasing your damage from the breach cutter itself because it already ignores armor, which makes the armor breaking somewhat dubious here. But it does work. It definitely works. So it's got that on its side. Unlike the PGL.
yeah. Honestly, this is. I'm just kidding. It's 3-3, right?
I
It's
think we
just
might just say 3-3 because there's not much to say.
yeah.
I think they both hold an equal number of
Depends what you
builds in which they're
prefer.
viable. It's just like
It,
it's fine.
either way, you're going to be screwing over a Praetorian if he gets hit by it, right? It's either going to be
Well,
sitting there
I
his hand
stuns
or
actually quite
naked.
annoying against
Yeah.
Praetorians. Um,
Well, not really. When you can just shoot through him.
yes, not for the breach cutter. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And plus, just I don't know. It's equal. They're both fine.
I tell you,
Um,
who's not so equal though, but not the most unhealthy thing in the world is tier 5. 2, 3, 4.
yeah.
Yeah, explosive goodbye. It's the worst one, but it's not bad. Um, Mass Betrayal is good. Triple split line is optimal. It's
Right.
just fantastic. It's a really fantastic upgrade.
Does it? It doesn't triple your damage on a single
Nope,
target, does it?
nope. And I don't want to explain exactly how Breach Cutter works, but it does not triple your damage, but
Yeah.
you will most likely get more damage out of this if you take
Yeah,
by
you
taking
will
triple
hit
split
more
line.
targets, especially with Mac Terror, right? That's kind of the point of it.
Yeah,
Is so you can tear a Mac Terror horde into fucking assholes.
into
Like, is
assholes.
yeah, they don't stand a chance against that.
It's just not overpowered, and Plasma Trail is a legitimately good pick. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
and both kind of have their builds, don't they? But Explosive Goodbye does it even really? work with anything?
Not
It's
really.
not
I guess if
bad,
you want
but
to, if you just want a bunch, like it's not like if you want to just go all ammo and just have a bunch of exploding things. It's also not bad with spinning death, but in general, it doesn't provide value in relation to any of the overclocks, whereas the other two definitely do.
it could maybe do with a light buff, but it's not in a stupidly bad place. It's not a 1, but
Certainly not.
it's yeah. But it's still,
That's why I'm saying 2,
pretty
3,
healthy.
4. It's not
Yeah.
like it doesn't need. It's not. I wouldn't call it priority 1, but there are definitely things I would tweak. But overall, it's like it's something that could technically be left alone, and I wouldn't be insulted, but it could probably be looked at. So you don't have an opinion. 2, 3, 4.
Once again, engineer is really my blind spot. So I barely have opinions on its weapons as a whole, let alone mods. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll just have to take. Maybe I'll just have to take over the reins with this then. Although not for lightweight cases, because lightweight cases, as we all know, is the best overclock in the game. So they say.
Yeah, I feel like that's like that was said once, and people were like, "Yeah, no, it's not bad." And then, that was said back when the breech cutter was that OP that the lightweight casings was all you needed on it. And then when that was removed, people kept saying it, and now it's like a fact, even though nobody verified. Like no one's actually been like, "Hold on, kind of ain't." Like, but it's also still very good though. Really, I mean, it's still more breech cutter, which is more good. Like,
Yes.
plus the reload time's nice.
Yes.
It then justifies you not picking the reload speed in tier 3 even more.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm thinking a 3, but what do you think?
Well, I was thinking a 3 or a 4.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because personally, I don't think. Personally, it's not 4, but maybe more of that original evaluation has. Some of it was retained. Because at the time, it would have been a 5. Right? I mean, how far down can it go, though? Is it really going to drop down 2 levels? I don't know.
Well, it wasn't. It probably would have been a 5 then, but only because the gun was in such a bad place that it could easily drop down 2 if the gun was brought down.
It's okay. Actually, not thinking about it,
and that the others compete against it.
Well, the thing is, it's easily the best clean, and I think all the other overclocks have noticeable downsides too.
Yeah.
So it's like it's the best clean, and it's a clean. Is what I'm thinking about. Well, I might give it a 4 because it's always a good choice. Is what I'm thinking about. Yeah. Always. Whereas not all the others are, which is it's slightly imbalanced in that way.
Yeah.
Especially with the other cleans, even though they're going to be fine. As in, I'm going to say 3 and 3, and I'm not going to let anyone touch roll control. It is good.
Oh, this is going to be something to die on a hill for.
I will die on the hill that roll control is balanced. I'm not saying it's overpowered or anything. I'm not saying you have to use it. I'm just saying it's not bad at all. Which is why for the cleans, because because the stronger plasma current is fine. It's actually pretty good, actually. Okay, hold on a second. Personally, I actually think stronger plasma current and lightweight cases are equal. But roll control is definitely not.
Why do you like that and not the tier 2 damage mod then?
Because it's free. It also increases your projectile lifetime, which is very good. So hold on, what? So lightweight cases. What did you give it?
Well, I was thinking. Well, I'm more on your 4 now, to be honest. Like, if it is just a free, easy pick, then it is a bit strong, right?
Yeah. Okay. And I wouldn't say strong plasma current is quite in the same.
Roll is 3, if that. But yeah.
I can actually manage those two being the same. So that makes it 4, 3, and 3. I'm okay with that.
Sure.
Woo! 4, 3, and 3. Wait, why is this already filled in? Oh, what the hell? What happened here? Oh, because we're on overclocks. That's why it's already filled in. Shut up. 3 and 3. Okay, now we get to the weirdos. Return to sender.
Oh.
Return to sender. Return to sender was another one where it was like, it really, really was up there because the breach cutter was overpowered, and Return to Sender felt crazy. Now it's fine. It's weird because like it's just a really weird one, and I'm thinking I'm just gonna put it at 3 because I don't know how to feel about it anymore. You know, it's not straight up like double damage, even though technically it is. But it's really not that, and obviously you do lose some ammo, a good amount of ammo actually. In fact, by default, it is half of your reserve ammo. Means you're obviously going to be taking expanded ammo bags. But Return to Sender is still a reasonable choice. It has notable downsides, but it does have big upsides too. And I don't see any other reason to not give it a 3.
If you don't think it's too strong or too weak, then it's a 3.
Yeah, it is weird though. High voltage crossover though can go fucking die. What a stupid overclock.
It's a 2. I mean, we're thinking at most 2, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it always comes down to the issue. You know, why do that when you could just kill them?
Why do that when you could take any other thing that either increases ammo or damage?
Yeah.
You high voltage crossover? No, no, sir. Although you would take this or this.
Do you actually think you would pick everything? It is the worst overclock.
It is probably the breach cutter's worst overclock.
But do you think it is so bad that it's a 1?
No, definitely not. I think it is still technically an upgrade over base breach cutter. You're only losing 1 ammo, and you're gaining an actual strong electric effect. It's a 2 though. It's just a 2. It's just not the right pick. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like utter dog shit. It's just a downgrade in comparison to the other overclocks. But it's still good. Like, as in, you're like, if you get it as your first overclock, you're obviously going to use it, and I'm not going to be like, oh, you got that thing, disgusting. But it's still the worst breach cutter overclock.
You still want to be moving swiftly along if you get another one.
Yeah, and this is still just painting the picture of the breach cutter being pretty damn healthy. There's not going to be any 1s, I can tell you that. And I don't think there's going to be any 5s. I don't think. Anyway. Next up is the boy, the guy, the man of the hour, the spinning death, which was like, hold on, I keep fuck bollocks. Anyway, spinning death was like one of those ones where early on it was like, oh, this is what it's all about. This is an unstable overclock, and it definitely is.
Yeah,
this is up there in terms of delivering on what an unstable overclock should feel like. It really does change the gun, and it ever so slightly pays off. I sort of see it as the same as Return to Sender, except like a bit more extreme in terms of what's added and what's lost. But I think overall it balances out. It definitely has. It's definitely more. It makes the breach cutter more niche, but I think it is genuinely good at what it does, in terms of like becoming like this area lockdown thing, but also really strong like DPS, as in it will like always kill like Praetorians in one shot and things like that. But it will also keep like an area clear of enemies. Like, it will keep you could stand inside it and it'll keep you safe. It's got it's spinning death.
Yeah,
it's a 3.
I mean, yeah, all right.
I like this unstable, but it's unstable. I feel like a good unstable would always be a 3, even though unstable sort of implies that it would be not balanced. But
yeah, it would. The only issue is that if an unstable, if its negatives aren't strong enough, it will start. Or if its negatives are too strong, it'll go down to like 2-1.
Yeah, speaking of negatives not being strong enough, introducing the Inferno. All hail Inferno, because it is very, very good. It's just really, really good, and it stops there. Unfortunately, I think it is bugged, and it has been for a while, in that I don't think the damage penalty it's meant to have applies. That's a problem. So the only thing you lose is armor breaking, which you do notice, and it makes the mod completely useless, right? It brings the base armor breaking down to 25%, right? And if you try and like add more, it goes up to 75%. Wow. Congratulations. Either way, Inferno just adds a lot of damage, and I think it's very, very much so equal with lightweight cases. I think you're a dumb doo-doo head if you disagree.
So 4 then.
Yes, absolutely 4.
Either way,
nothing else to it really.
Yeah, you put them in there, and it's. I mean, reinforcing our own. But once again, I don't inherently feel like people would disagree that, you know, the breach cut is just incredibly healthy. Like, no 1s or 5s.
It eats an apple a day.
And I'm not surprised either, because they put so much time and effort into the breach cutter. Because as for mentioned, they had to nerf it a lot, and they had to do a lot with it constantly. Like, breach cutter is probably the most tinkered with weapon of like all of them.
Well, I mean, it's got some competition, which is coming up.
I guess
the next one
in a very short amount of time. But the breach cutter has been like interacted with 3 years. Was like constantly tinkered with like every update and like shit like that, right? Like it had always been adjusted, and I think the result is a very fine-tuned weapon.
Yeah,
so
if I were to say anything, it's just in terms of balancing. I feel like if there's one thing that you can, it might not be the only thing, but if there's a weapon you can truly leave alone, you could leave the breach cutter alone, and that's not a problem. I don't think it's a priority in any way. There are tweaks I would make, definitely, but I would never prioritize it in terms of weapon balancing. It's not a sore spot anymore.
Yeah, just as mentioned, 4, 3, and 2 are fine. They can be left alone. It's the 1s and 5s that need immediate attention.
Yeah, I mean, I preferably every 2 would be addressed eventually.
Yeah, once all the 1s and 5s are done with.
But because that's by the way, just the 2s. I don't want 4s to change personally. I'd actually rather everything be a 4, which obviously would turn everything into a 3 if everything was a 4. But
once everything's a 4, nothing's a 4.
It's like if we were Ghost Ship and I had this like data, I would be like, okay, we focus on the 1s and the 5s, and then we do the 2s, and then we win. Then we've done all the weapon balancing we need to. It gets too granular if you try and bring 4s down to a 3. It gets too like finicky. It would be too difficult, I think. So you can just kind of ignore those. But the breach cutter, a healthy boy, a healthy young growing boy. It's actually quite old now, but
Yeah.
Speaking of young, sort of spotty,
youthful,
weird little men.
I wouldn't say little.
It's surprisingly small, Isla. The shard diffractor is always disappointingly small in your hands.
I know something else that is disappointingly small in my hands.
Yeah, I actually that's what I call it. It's the shard diffractor. That's what I call my
That's a nice one.
Yeah,
I call mine the Sabata because it's. I
think Tom would probably call his the stubby.
He'd call his like the M1000 because he's an egotistical prick.
Coil
Moving
gun. The shard diffractor.
We are not going through all the weapons and talking about them as being penis names.
I want to do that for April Fools. Do you remember we just go through every
Yeah, I remember, Harry.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Yes.
We do a tier list of Overclocks in terms of how well they describe our sex lives.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is supposed to be technical.
Yeah. So let's move on, shall we?
Yeah. The shard diffractor.
Wow,
look at that. What a naked selection. It's actually not bad. Right. Okay.
As long as it's tier 5's got 3 options, it's in a pretty good state.
Yeah, everything should have that, and unfortunately not everything does.
Yeah.
Which that's the one thing that should change. I don't need every tier to have 3 options. I just think every tier 5 should have 3 options.
Yeah.
At least. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Is either of the one with 5 overclocks, do they all have 3 tier 5s?
No, they both have 2.
Oh, those poor sorts.
Yeah, it's Zukov's. The boomstick I thought the boomstick might have had. I mean, it's quite dense towards the end there, and yeah, obviously, Warthog, 2 tier 5s, 5 overclocks.
Yeah, I feel like that may be a like not on purpose, but maybe the consequence of it. Like they couldn't think of a 3rd tier 5 or a 6th overclock. Like,
yeah,
might be a bit of an issue there. But
anyway,
now we've got this bad boy who it does not have that issue.
The shot diffractor.
Once again, I'm just gonna be sitting here making sure you don't get like lost in your own sauce.
There's a lot of sauce.
Barely have a take for most of these. I've used the shot diffractor like 5 times.
Cool. Okay. Tier 1. Impact splash plus 2 area damage, or plus 2 direct damage, or plus 100 total capacity. I would go. Hold on. 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe 2, 2, 4. Actually.
You think the ammo is a must pick, or not a must pick, but like a very strong pick?
Yeah, there's actually multiple builds where it makes sense to take both of these, but even then, the ammo will still probably be a better idea.
All right.
Which is why 2, 2, and 4 makes sense to me. Because I was thinking about it, it's like, oh, is this actually slightly better than that one? I mean, technically they are like the same, just on the 2 different sides. So I'm going to treat them that way. I think 2, 2, and 4 makes sense because there are builds for both of them.
Could it not be 3, 3, and 4?
It could be 3, 3, and 4. It could be.
They're both healthy,
I think I think it would be if this was like a bit less. If this was say 50 or 75, it would probably be like 3, 3, 3. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why I'm listening to you, but sure.
Well, I'm just trying to help you consolidate yours because it didn't sound like that you thought they had some valid builds behind them. So
well, they do. I mean, every build would benefit from them, but they would always benefit more from this.
Yeah, they're balanced. Just the ammo is too good.
A little bit too good. Yeah. Which is why it's not like a 5. I feel like a 5. The other options always have to be like 2s and 1s, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, that always ends up happening.
Tier.
Yeah. Tier 2. I love this tier. A little bit. We got plus 33% weak point bonus and plus 0.8 AoE radius. And this is probably just going to be a 3 and a 3. I reckon. Yeah. I think they. Yep.
All right.
I think they equal out. I think this is I actually. Yeah. This tier represents the shard diffractor very well as well, right? As in, it makes sense to take either of these. It's like weak point damage or AoE radius.
Yeah.
And they both make sense, and I really just appreciate that. Yeah, I absolutely 3 and 3. No discussion needed. Right, this is too easy. I wonder if there's going to be any roadblocks coming up. Tier 3 in roadblocks, plus 50 charge capacity. So what a name! Aluminum foil DIY. And then open structure battery, which is minus 0.8 recharge time, which does feel very nice, but I tend to just firm it. I just soldier through the forced recharge, like the delay that comes with it. I don't tend to think about it. So this is pretty much always a better pick.
For you, though, do you actually think that that's like do you actually think it's better? Or do
the shard diffractor benefits from being able to be fired for longer, pretty much always. This is just pure convenience, and it's just also ammo as well. Right, it's quite a bit in terms of like clip size, but it's also plus 50 ammo. So, which is why I'm thinking 4 and 3. As in, I don't think this is this is problematically weak. In fact, I would actually probably nerf this one a little bit, personally. I think that could actually be cut down to 25. I think that wouldn't be a problem. Because then it's not so tempting to like get that extra ammo from. But yeah, 4 and 3 makes perfect sense to me.
All
right. Once again, this is too easy. Uh-oh, it's tier 4. Introducing high intensity heating, which is a 5. It's a 5. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? The fire mods take control once again. I wonder if this will happen any other time.
Yeah,
it will. By the way, time. It will happen again at least once.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's simple. It's not even the armor breaking mod is not broken, as in it's not. Isn't it? It works, right?
Yeah.
But the context of the shard diffractor, this feels so ridiculously right for every build, with like no exceptions, basically. There isn't a build where this doesn't feel like the right thing to take, even if you're focusing on AoE, because this only applies to other things you're directly hitting. Remember, and I think honestly, there's some really simple solutions here. So, this is an interesting one though, because a couple minutes ago I said a 5. Everything else in the tier is probably going to be a 2 or 1. I'm not sure about that. This is probably a 3. The armor breaking one, and I might just go for 5 and 3 because that makes the most sense to me. But even though I think this tier should be changed in quite a few ways. For example, high intensity heating. Well, the base heat should probably be up to 50%, right? So this is not as tempting to take. But I think what could really shake things up is if instead of bumping the direct target heating up to 100, you actually have the option to make the base 25% apply to the AoE as the other option.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
That would be really fucking sick. And I think I'm going to give this a 2 because I want both of them to change, or at least I think this could be balanced out with a better like alternative. This might not even need to change if you have the right option next to it.
Yeah, they kind of fumbled it in the tier 2. What's good about it is that you pick either, right? AoE, single target, and it's slightly nuanced both, right? Like it's not like single target damage and AoE it's just like AoE radius and weak point bonus. But for tier 4 they fumbled and went double single target, right? They're both single targets, so then they're fighting each other a lot more actively. And one of them was inevitably going to, and fire often does, right? If we know anything about this game, fire often comes out on top when it comes to mods.
Indeed.
So, yeah. I'm not surprised by that at all, to be honest.
But obviously, a plus 100% on breaking mod that works is never going to be a 1.
Yeah.
But this mod was also never not going to be a 5. I don't think anyone doesn't use it in every build. I'd be surprised if that was a thing. So that's 5 and 2. Lovely. Delicious. Tier 5. Tier 5. Hydrogen rupturing. Plus 33% damage against electrified enemies. Which is very, very acceptable.
Nice.
It's very, 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 very acceptable. Part of me wishes that, the true, like, tanky enemies could be electrocuted, like oppressors and bosses.
Plus, obviously,
but they can't. But we have to accept that.
I don't know. It's like obviously Stubby and a bit of Loki, right? And like lures. That's like your main use of this.
I wish lures actually did that though. Like, well.
Yeah, obviously, but because it is weird that it is bad at it, but it is there.
But the hygiene, I could have like been harsher on it, but the reason I can't be is because it's not like the other mods actually make it better against the things that this doesn't address. The shard diffractor is always going to be fixed in sort of its strength against things like dreadnoughts and whatnot. There's not much you can do. In fact, the only way to do that by yourself is actually with turret arc, which works, but it's really fucking annoying to do. So hydrogen rupturing sits at solid 3. Biomass converter is interesting because it sounds like it would be insane and it is very good, but it might just be a 3 as well. I'm not sure. Only because, right, it seems good that you get 3 extra ammo every time you kill an enemy. But a lot of the best builds don't actually focus on clearing crowds with the beam necessarily. So
does it have to be direct damage, or is it
no. With it, I just mean with the beam itself. Like for example, some of you're not killing them with the beam directly or with the AOE with like volatile impact reactor or plastic catalyst even, because that's making the platforms explode. And then it's not like particularly useful for direct damage, because if you're going for direct damage, you either want a damage bonus or you want a way to slow enemies down to make them easy to hit.
Plus, if you kill that well, like I just read the thing there, it doesn't actually like it has like a bit of a cooldown.
Yeah, but biomass
if you
converted
kill them
does
so well, it won't be as efficient.
Biomass converted definitely works though. It is good for like any AOE build that uses the beam, and it's just good. Like it's just a good generalist upgrade as well.
Yeah.
This is one where I do think the others are better, but not in a way where I actually think that the rating is should be different. It's weird. I think that's a 3 and that's a 3 as well. Dazzler module is it's not weird. The only reason why these upgrades are weird because the wave cooker has one that's exactly like this as well. It's like it just slows enemies while you're damaging them, but it's not actually how it works. It actually just applies a 1 second status effect, which is that makes sense in terms of how it would have to work like that. But Dazzler module is pretty nice, just in general. It's just a really nice upgrade to have, and it works specifically well with some builds as well. So I see no reason to not give that a 3 either. Looking at this, I actually think this is a really balanced tier 5, or 5th tier.
I think if anything, it's kind of because none of them are inherently that strong.
Yeah, I agree. Right? I mean, the biomass converter is easily the craziest one, but even that has it's got a lot of like checks. If it was allowed to just run rampant, it would probably be the best one. But it's balanced.
Held on a very strong leash.
Even though it's a very insane idea.
It is a funky ammo one with the electric being like a funky damage. And it was still simpler, but it's still caveats. And then the Dazzler module just being what it is. I don't know. I think it's it's a very balanced, but only because none of them go too far.
No, and that's just fine. I actually think this is not the thing that needs to be addressed on the shard diffractor.
No. None of this seems to have been so far, other than obviously the fire one, which no surprise there. But
no surprises there.
Yeah. But now we're gonna be getting into how we take territory.
I hope you have the house arrest taser ready.
I do. I knew we were going to be talking about this.
It's right
today.
at the end.
Okay, good.
Right. Have to wait a little bit. Efficiency tweaks. 4.
Yeah.
I think so. I do think so. Do I though? Do
you think it's strong? Do you think it's one of the strongest?
Oh, it's one of the strongest for sure.
Right. Do you think it's strong without any real negatives, which I assume you would, consider he doesn't have any?
Yeah.
Right? So I think 4 is fine. Because that's the thing is, I mean, Cleaves will have a tendency of becoming 4s.
It's definitely where efficiency tweaks sort of it's only competed in terms of it's only rivaled if you're building it for crowd clearing, right? But not if you're going for single target damage. It's the best for that, and even then, it's still the most reliable for crowd clearing because it has no negatives. So, efficiency tweaks get a solid 4. It's far from the only viable option, though. Automated beam controller. What a loser. What a big fat 2.
That's the what's it? Thinking of the word. Relic.
Yeah, or legacy.
Yeah.
Just a remnant introduced to just be stupid.
It's just them seeing that maybe if we slip it into the main game, if people will like it. Maybe if enough people like this overclock, we can re-add the old one.
I do like the fact though. I do like the fact that the mechanic of it behaving the way that it did is a penalty.
Yeah.
Automated beam controller is just unfortunate. I mean, I'm tempted to give it a 1 because it's like, oh look, it gives you a lot of ammo. Okay, but you can actually achieve more ammo efficiency tweaks, and you're not forced to dump all your ammo. You're not forced to dump your whole magazine at once. It's really hard for me to see why you wouldn't give it a 1. Because it is on face value also a downgrade. It's like, yeah, you get a lot of total capacity, but you do have a much smaller magazine, and you also have to use it up all at the same time. It's not... Oh... I thought the only reason I don't want to give it a 1 is because I don't really care that much. Oh dear.
Well, do you ever see any reason to ever pick it?
I don't think there is a reason to pick it.
Yeah, I mean, ammo, you'll pick the clean.
No, I think I have to be really objective about this. There really isn't a reason to pick it. There genuinely isn't. And
would you say it's the worst overclock here? Like, undeniably. Like,
yes.
Obviously...
Yes, it is. Yeah. It is the worst overclock on the shard diffractor.
Yeah. So I think if we're not going to give anything... like, if something deserves a 1, and I think it does sound like it does, it's going to be this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think a 1. Right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now, someone who I thought was utter dog shit, and who actually isn't, is Feedback Loop.
I like how you talk about overclocks like they're people. That you called them a loser, and it's weird. I like it though. I think it's just a sign of your craziness, though. You spent too long playing solo on Deepcore, but you now treat overclocks as people.
Feedback Loop. So I want to call out the guy when we were doing the tier lists who defended Feedback Loop by saying it was instant crowd clear. That guy's a doofus, but Feedback Loop is genuinely good at what it does. Its penalties are really, really felt, but its strengths are felt more than I thought they were. I was too harsh on Feedback Loop, and
perhaps I treated you too harshly.
That's not how Thanos sounds.
It is exactly how Thanos sounds.
It's perhaps I treated you too harshly. Perfectly balanced. I treated you a little harshly.
Thanos was a leprechaun.
This Infinity Stone is fucking minging. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Feedback Loop. 3. I think this is actually really good at what it does. That's it. It stops there. Right. It stops there. It very much so stops there. In terms of also being quite good at what it does, but also being a bit weird, is Volatile Impact Reactor. Because I think Volatile Impact Reactor, I don't love it as much as I used to. It's still fantastic on solo. I understood the argument about the other thing. I think the reason why I think it's so good though is because it does add, if you can use it well, a very efficient and powerful AoE to the shard diffractor that it didn't have before, in the form of like magma. It also doesn't really have many like big penalties at all. You can still use it in a very generalist manner, and that's why I think it's so good. You can still very, very reasonably use it to deal a lot of damage to like bigger targets or like high priority targets, and you still have a lot of the AoE side of it is extremely efficient because of how the magma works. It's just not insanely good. It's just quite good, and this sounds absolutely insane now that I'm saying it, but I think Feedback Loop and Volatile Impact Reactor are actually equal.
If you heard yourself saying this like what half a year ago, you would beat the shit out of you, right? Like,
yeah, I think this is way better at crowd clearing. It's just nowhere near as efficient, and this sort of is not as good. It's just nowhere near as reliable, but it's very free.
Yeah.
So I think these two are actually pretty equal. That's a 3 and a 3. I'm gonna. So we've got a 4, a 1, and 2 3s going on here, which actually works. In my head, that sounds absolutely fine. I'm actually very happy with this.
Good.
Cheese, cheese. Exploding cheese. What can I say about exploding cheese? Well, it's really good. And
Yeah.
that's about it.
I'm just reading it now. It's honestly, because I was thinking if its negatives are prominent, I don't think it's worth it. Like, because it's quite inconvenient to do, right? But it
Yeah,
is
but the
still
negatives aren't
pretty
big.
untouched.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like you can use it without using the plasticate and feel no real damage. But obviously you should be. But it's still like unlike turret arc, right? Where if you pick turret arc, you have to be turret arcing or you be screwed, right?
Yeah.
This is just like you have this available to
It
you.
also it's not. I wouldn't consider plastic catalyst to really have any major downsides. The only downside is that to use the mechanic, you have to shoot platforms, which is
Yeah,
weird. You have to use your platforms up for combat, and it does destroy the platforms as well. I think personally, it should completely destroy the platforms. It doesn't,
Hmm.
which means you can still use them. You can use the tiniest bit of plasticrete, by the way, which I think is
maybe
really funny.
they wanted that, just like so it's not 1-to-1. It's like one like three and a bit.
And you have to shoot platforms, which is not always reasonable to do. It depends on where
Yeah.
you put them, what's on top of them at the time. It's it's weird that it has in it. It's weird that it's balanced. You look
Yeah.
at it, it should be overpowered, right?
Or too annoying to be worth using.
Yeah, either
Right.
one. But it's not. It really isn't either of those things. And this to me is one of those things that makes Fat Boy look really weak as well. Because of 300 explosive damage. That's enough for everything. That will one shot guards. It's also a 5 meter radius. It doubles your AoE damage and radius when you're shooting the platforms anyway.
Yeah.
But somehow it's not broken. I don't understand. I've been using it recently and I thought this is just really, really solid. I'm
Yeah.
tempted to give it a 4. I'm tempted to give it...
I mean, I think it's fair, but also kind of not. But it is. It's just literally the only reason why it's just an undeniably strong thing is because it's a pain in the ass, right? It's literally it, right? It literally is just the activity of having to shoot your platform is annoying. Therefore, it's kind of not inherently just free strength. It's like it comes at a price of inconvenience, which is a notable price.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
I mean, I kind of
I'm
want to
not,
give it a 3 because I don't know, a 3 or 4.
do you think
Either way would
do
make
you
it doesn't
think it's one
matter.
of the strongest,
I think it's up there. I
or
think
do
it
you
is.
think it's like tied with the other two?
That's
Like,
the thing. I think it is slightly better than these two
yeah,
overall. I think it's slightly better. I don't know if it's enough to push it up, and I don't. The problem is, like, what does it matter if we give it a 3 or a 4? So, just I don't know,
yeah.
instinct.
If you think it's like stronger, higher, put a 4.
I think maybe we should give it a 4. I think it's it's probably more equal to efficiency tweaks than the others. It's just efficiency tweaks is just like that you can't make it bad, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's hard to make plastic catalyst bad as well, though, to be fair. But it's not easy to use either.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's definitely nowhere close to a 5. Like it's a low 4.
It's a
Right?
low 4. It's a low 4. We're not going to introduce decimals though. We're not going
No,
to
obviously.
no, because
Just
if we
yeah,
did, it would just spiral out of control.
yeah.
Can we introduce decimals?
Well, that's when we add them all together and divide them. We'll
This is
get
a
a decimal.
1.8. This is a 1.8.
Yeah.
Overdrive booster.
You
I'm
hate it
sick
more than
of.
it probably deserves.
Yes, I do.
So it's
But
not a 1.
there is maths involved. No, it's not one. Don't worry, not one. There is maths
Yeah.
here. There is maths involved here. Yes, I'm not going to deny the incredible amount of DPS that you gain. I am going to tell you, however, I'm going to tell you that you can still get more total damage from efficiency tweaks. An overdrive booster just comes with a pretty significant downside. It's not one of those. It's not a salvage module. It's not a hidden clean. It definitely has drawbacks, especially when you consider what you can get out of the other overclocks without having to deal with the penalties that overdrive booster has. You know,
Yeah.
I don't respect it in any way. I think it is a downgrade, but for some reason we're giving it a 2. For some reason, it's not okay. It's not really a downgrade. I shouldn't say that, right? But it feels like a downgrade in comparison to the other 5 overclocks.
It's just
The other 4 overclocks that you could take.
Shard diffractor has what's part of it's like, I don't know if it's like it was on purpose or it's just a coincidence, but it always has a firm grip on all of its parts, right? Like with all of those other things, you can still use it as the base weapon and it still be fine, right? And you don't feel any negatives really. But overdrive booster kind of like, fuck that noise, use it like how I want you to, or you're screwed, right? Although even though not, because you can put it on there and it will be, you could do nothing, right? Like as long as you never activate overcharge.
But then you should be using efficiency tweaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can't be a 1 because it's not at least obviously a 1 to a vast majority of, right? You think it's very, very bad, but even then it's still picked a lot, right? Like it isn't obviously as big as a red flag as some other ones could be. So it just feels like it might devalue the importance and like red flagness of ones, put it in there, right? In the like, I don't think it's that bad, and I don't think a vast majority agree with me in that it ain't. I don't think it's that good either. Like I do trust your word on it, and I've used it. And first of all, I used it a while without really turn on the overdrive part.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to start firing as well, then press the button, and then you have to like use it all up, and it's like, oh.
It is like hypervent, in a lot of ways.
It's more like hypervent than people think, because like people be like, "Oh, overdrive boosters, that's literally a clean. It's like there's no reason not to take it or something." It's just like, no, 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 because we have a clean that you should take. There's no clean version of hyperpropellant.
Yeah,
dimbos. Anyway, it's not. It's most of the time it's not a good pick, and that's all I'm saying. Leave it there. Getting a 2.
right.
Anyone wants to fight me on this? I can, but remember, this is objective.
That's why I pushed it out of 1, is because it was, if I wasn't here, it would have gotten a 1.
No. Do you know why? Because I am more sensible than you think. Because I know
agree.
that people. Shut up. I know that people like Overdrive Booster, and I would want to see them squirm. I would give it a 0. I would give it so I wouldn't have gotten a 1.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm sick in the head.
Yeah. That is it. For Shard diffractor, obviously, you showing them the chart.
Yeah.
And the video. The whole shebang.
The whole shibalong.
Shiblonga.
Shibonga longa biga. Liga. Hey.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed that as well. This was, I don't know, I think we got about the results that we expected.
Yeah.
Breech cutter is seamless. Shard diffractor has some issues, and the deep core is fundamentally flawed.
Oh, thank God! Do you know how? Oh.
Well, we always kind of gut feelings this stuff, right?
Did you though? You always clap back at me whenever I try to shit on the PGL.
Yeah, because it's unhealthy. It's not bad. Like it still has lots of strong builds, but the strong builds it has is very unhealthy for the game, or unhealthy for the PGL, and that inherently makes the game more unhealthy.
Yeah,
and yeah,
Shard diffractor, honestly, slightly healthier than I thought.
Yeah,
not perfect,
Not perfect. Suffers from the fire
I
problem.
think the shard diffractor is fundamentally okay, but it has some things that need to be addressed, I think.
Yeah.
Mainly the fire thing. I think automated beam controller, we know why it exists, but also, I do think everything should have a minimum of 6 overclocks, but the shard diffractor wouldn't have done without automated beam control, and that's okay, because what automated beam controller would have been before they reworked the shard diffractor is the opposite of what it does, and it made the shard diffractor work how it does now, which would have been a fantastic overclock in that timeline.
Yeah. That would have been the situation where everyone used that all the time, and they would have had to have adjusted.
I'm just saying it didn't need to be added, really. I know why they wanted to, and that's fine. And I don't. That's the thing. What I'm saying is that automated beam controller isn't the problem with the shard diffractor. I'm just saying it's an underpowered overclock. But it's not the shard. It's not a flaw with the shard diffractor itself. The fire is the problem there.
Yeah. It has some issues. Shard diffractor has some issues. Breech cutter is fine. Honestly, is arguably a staple of what they should aim towards, at least for these other two, right? In how solid everything is, and then obviously I think the grenade launcher has two very visible, very prominent issues with it being its ammo overclocks and tier 3, right?
Yeah, man, shard diffractor is the ideal. I like this. It's fighting. It's spicy. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, okay. So this is the kind of thing we're going to do at the very end of the series. But we look at something like the breech cutter. There's 1 2, 2 2s. No one. Yeah. There's 3 2s. Sorry, there's no 1s or 5s though, and that's all you need.
Yeah, and that is once again that is healthy. That means if they were to go, but where we're done with this R1s, and they went their patch notes to it. If the breech cutter came out of that without any patches, we would be like, yeah, that makes sense.
And if it had any, I'd be like, fair enough. Huh, that's interesting. I hope it's 2s.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting if once this series is done, which, will be at some point, the patch notes come out, which will also be at some point, and we notice, we guessed a lot of things, or vice versa, and a lot of our 3s end up getting changed. Because that would be really interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean this is why it's important, right? Because I explained this last week. This is a bit of this isn't just a video, right?
Yeah.
If it was just a video, we would have done all this before, and we'd just be showing you, which would be really boring. I don't know if this is maybe this makes it a better form of content. I'm not sure, but it does have a double purpose in that we are creating or we are producing this data, at least for us to reference in the future,
Yeah.
And we'll probably have to change it at times. And basically, I think what we'll do, I like this idea actually. I just come up with this. Every time we get major patch notes that includes weapon balancing,
we just go through this again.
Yeah, possibly as a video, but yeah, we have to look at this and cross-reference it with the patch notes. Although that's the thing, because this is that doesn't mean we inherently have any experience with it, does it? With the changes.
Well, no. Right. What we would do is you could do 2 videos. First of all, it could be us going through the patch notes and just from face value being like, "Holy shit! Everything they patched was 1s and 5s on our list."
Yeah, and then it'll be later on
every single time.
That would be the patch notes video. But then later on, at a later date, there would be another
a revised
episode of this series, even though it's finished. That's how this series will continue. It's
and it would come back every time patch notes occurs.
Yeah, it'll be a month, but it should be a month or 2. It should be into the season. Once we've gotten to grips with every change that's been made.
Yeah, and then we can sit down. Obviously, pull out the patch notes, and this would be even after all the other patch notes would have come through, because I imagine they would have readjusted some stuff. Grab all of that, and then basically sit down and be like, okay, they changed the shard diffractor's tier 4 fire, and then we'll come back to this, and we're like, okay, they fixed it. They brought it down. It's now a 4, still strong but not broken, right? And we'd do that. Or we'd say they buffed the weak point on tier 2 shard diffractor. They fucking ruined it. It's now a 5. What did they do? Like something like along those lines. And that would be like really interesting of a thing to always kind of keep track of.
Yeah, because before it was like, it's just before it's just like you just go off of your feeling. It's just like, oh, you look at the patch notes, it'd be like, oh, this thing's been changed. I used to think it was shit. It's just like, oh, but it got buffed, thank God. But now it's like, it's even though this is based on what we think, we can still treat it as though it's like objective, right? And we see something changed in the patch notes, and we can look at it in like comparison to the table and be like, oh, a 3 got changed or a 4 got changed, instead of being like, oh, this thing that I like got changed. There's now there's now a new way, a new lens through which we can see it.
A collective of mods that we'd really keep an eye out and give a shit on, really, like most of the time.
I mean, obviously, there's some we're gonna probably remember every 1 and 5 if they come up in patch notes, but you know, we can actually have it there, and we can like,
if they actually touch 5s, I'd be surprised, because that's the issue. These 5s have been around for a very long time. They are very in depth a part of the weapon. Obviously, the shard diffractor hasn't been around for that long, but like with the grenade launcher, its overclocks and its mods have been the way it is forever, right? And they've yet to fix it.
Yeah, the thing is, the PGL, you sort of run into this like horrible conundrum where it's like, there's a chance that making the fire like inherent to it is like the way forward, you know?
It would free up the mods, for sure.
I do think it is actually, like, apart from Fat Boy, I do think it's actually too weak without the fire. On average,
well, yeah, that's why it should probably bad. It's such a crutch. I think maybe
it should be like a shard diffractor type thing. It should have like a little bit, and then you can like bring it up with the mod.
Yeah, but they'd still always bring it up though, right? like, because what would it be? It won't, or it set everything on fire. That's not really how it works, would it?
No.
Like, I think it needs to just come down to the fact that the grenade launcher needs to do what the fire does. It needs to kill the enemies that it hits, right? Like, or like punish them in a way strong enough to where people find that as value. Plus, they need to fix the ammo problem, which would be fixed. Honestly, the grenade launcher, it would be immeasurably informative if during this is like, you know, the idea we have with like the experimental branch, if they remove that mod during the experimental branch, how differently the PGL is received, because the crumbling of all of the builds, like most of the builds, it would have to be immense. Like, it is such a strong pillar, at least it looks, because that could be the opposite side, right? Is that they remove it and it doesn't change that much, right? For some reason, it still holds up. And if that occurs, that would be incredibly interesting. Either way, you would only find out after removing it. And I mean removing it. Obviously, everyone could stop running it, but having it be there is still too much. Just kick the crutch out, take off the training wheels, see how far the PGL goes. And it all comes down to that fire mod. And that we already kind of knew going into this, to be honest. But now we have it in numbers. And for other weapons later down the line. Point is, thank you for watching. We have been here talking about engineers, mods, and overclocks, in fairness. Which overclocks is a lot more normal for people to talk about, right? Everyone likes talking about overclocks, do videos on overclocks, but not much on mods.
This is why we're so cool.
Yeah, we're ahead of the times.
This is why we're better than you.
Oh, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. We're better than you. Suck an egg.
Suck an egg. Suck a PGL.
Yeah. Suck a flame mod.
Flame mod can suck a dick and like and subscribe.